Hello, everyone, and welcome to Criterion Connection. I'm Wade,
And I'm Joe.
and we're doing another November Noir, our second of two. We're doing two this month, I guess, because the month's been crazy. So we're doing 1990s Miller's Crossing. I think it's the second Coen Brothers movie we've done. I think there's this and Blood Simple,
Yeah.
which I keep calling Blood Sample for some reason, which we did a couple months ago, and we're here to do Miller's Crossing, which I've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen most of the Coen Brothers films. I've
Yes.
seen obviously The Big Lebowski. It's my all-time favorite. I've even seen movies like Lady Killers, which is not my all-time favorite.
It's not?
No. So I've never seen Miller's Crossing. I know the cover. I've seen stills. I've never seen the movie.
Funny enough. Also, my first time ever seeing Miller's Crossing. And this is very much one that kind of flies under the radar
Yes.
as a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Because everybody talks about Raising Arizona
Or,
and then...
or Fargo.
Or Fargo. And then, like, even you'll have the more hipstery crowd, like Barton Fink.
Yeah.
um...
Or the real obscure people like Hail Caesar. Like,
Yeah. So... this one kind of gets lost in the shuffle a lot.
And I'll say this: it may be one of my favorite Coen Brothers films.
It's good. It's real good. Spoiler.
Yeah,
real
a
good.
spoiler. It's their gangster. It's hardly a neo noir. It's more of
It's
like kind of like a off kilter gangster film. It reminds.
yeah.
There's some comedic scenes that reminds me of. Do you remember the movie Mafia with the exclamation point with Lloyd Bridges?
Yeah.
Um, Specifically the scene where Leo is being attacked by the hitman and he grabs the Tommy gun and
Yeah.
jumps out the window. And like that seems like Mafia, like real like joke,
Yeah.
like spoof.
Yes. It's and I would be shocked if that wasn't directly in their minds.
Yeah.
What is great about this movie is I was watching it earlier, and it's with the Coen brothers. You're like, okay, is this like a quirky, funny movie, or is this a dead serious movie? And you just kind of sit there and you buckle up, and then eventually you start like, okay, I think this is a dead serious movie.
Yeah, but then
It has its comedic moments.
what's his name? Castor. I think it's
Casper.
Casper.
Yeah.
Who's who's played by John Polito. Who,
Yes.
by the way, John Polito does not get enough credit as an actor. I mean, he's been in stuff. I mean, as a childhood, I mean, Bushwhacked.
Yeah, he plays a lot of the same kind of roles.
Blank
though.
Man.
He's
the
great,
original comic book movie right there is Blank Man. He's very underrated actor, and he plays so there's two mob bosses. There is the
Leo.
Irish mob Leo,
Yep.
who's Albert Finney.
Yep.
And
Who
then,
also is great.
yes, everyone's great in this.
Yeah.
And then you have John Polito playing Casper, who's the like up and coming Italian mobster boss.
Yeah. Oh, takes place in 1929.
Prohibition.
Yeah. So we have Prohibition era. This is I don't remember if they ever really talk about the town,
No,
but it gives very like either East Coast or like Chicago vibes.
yeah, it's definitely a named like town where a city where you typically have mobsters.
Yeah.
There's a scene that is funny, and it's every time it's Casper's son.
Okay. Any of those scenes are funny.
Any of those scenes. The last one where he slaps the kid.
He's like, "What? Did somebody slap you?"
Yeah, that's all. Did someone slap you?
Yeah.
So basically, the movie is what I love is the beginning sets up everything.
Yes.
Sets up that like okay, there's these two mob bosses. Kind of like I want Bernie. Burnham's head, who's John Turturro.
Yep.
And basically he's a thorn in the side of Casper, but he has some protection with Leo.
Yeah.
And it introduces the Dane. It introduces our main character. I'm blanking on his name. Tom Reagan.
Yeah. And it also introduces Werner.
Yes.
The woman.
Yeah, Verna. I thought it meant Werner Herzog.
Oh,
I'm like, whoa, okay. By the way, did you catch a director cameo? Not by the Coen brothers, but there's a director that makes a cameo.
No, the
Okay.
one that I would have thought would have been the twins, but
No. There's a director cameo by Sam Raimi.
oh,
Do you know that the shootout where they're doing the shootout at that bar and the guy's waving the white flag or whatever?
yeah,
The guy that has the 2 pistols, that's Sam Raimi.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard for me to ever recognize.
And that was such a
him.
random. That was a random.
He looks so
scene.
self-satisfied when he shoots the first
Yeah,
guy.
it was a random scene that we didn't really need.
Yeah.
What I love is there's the comedic edge of like when it was funny, but then when we get to the part where I'm like, okay, I get what we're doing here, is Tom is beating up the guy who was in Dumb and Dumber, that is the gas man.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
He hits him with the chair.
Hits him with the chair, and
He's
another
like,
guy comes in, and
they
start beating him up, and then the police show up and raid the place, and Tom is in good standings with like the cop.
Yeah.
And they're walking out, and there's just chaos everywhere. And they walk outside, and there's like horses running through. And I'm like, this seems like a Naked Gun scene.
Yeah, so it has those comedic elements, but it is a fairly serious movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's played fairly straight, but like, as in many things in real life, there are these really like, you can't write this kind of moment. But it happens twice. So because he's connected, Tom's connected, and you have the mayor and the chief of police always showing up in the different mob bosses' offices, and then he shows up.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just kind of, they know they're pawns in this game. But it's a really interesting, kind of movie, and it really whines a lot. And the neo-noir aspect of it is less, like, because there's a little bit of that investigation, like, who killed the one guy?
Was it Rugg?
Yeah, Ruggs. And who, like, what's the angle?
Yeah.
Or what's the rumpus?
Yeah.
That line gets said about 15 times throughout the whole movie.
And also look into your heart. That's said a lot too.
By one character.
Yes.
But it's a lot of like, what's the angle here? How does Tom navigate this situation? Because there's many times where you're like, this is as bad as it's gonna get.
Yes.
And and seeing how he gets through it. The real windy nature of it, and it's like constantly not having all the facts, I think is very the neo-noir thing.
Very much.
It's like, it's always like the motivations, the like figuring out like how Tom basically plays everybody.
Yeah, Tom's motives are very, you never fully 100% understand his motives.
He's everything about him is very obfuscated. Especially
at the end where Leo, I'm not going to say what happens at the end, but Leo's like, you planned all this. And he doesn't confirm he planned all this.
Yeah.
It seems like he could have planned all this, or this is just like how he reacts, and it somehow
just worked out.
And it turns into his favor, especially near the end when it comes to the character of the Dane. And kind of manipulating
the Dane's such a great character.
Casper, manipulating him a little bit.
He manipulates everybody.
Also, the best scenes to me are like, another great scene is any of the anything that's located in Miller's Crossing.
The trees,
yeah,
they're beautiful,
especially that shot where like he's leading John Turturro like to his supposed death, and he's just pleading, and you think, okay, cut,
but it keeps going.
It keeps pleading. And it keeps pleading and pleading and pleading until they finally get there. And also the same way where Tom is the Dane's like with Dane and it was Tic Tac, and who's the other guy? There's another guy.
That's the one from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, it was the gas. We'll just call him Gas Man.
Yeah.
How I know he has gas.
He sings.
Oh yeah, he was sitting in during. It was so kind of creepy, and then like he's
It's
walking,
such a great scene.
Tom's face, it was played by Gabrielle Byrne.
Incredible
Great,
performance.
that face, that stone face of like he thinks I'm screwed. Also, we forgot another actor that's in a lot of Coen Brother films. Steve Buscemi as Mink,
Yeah.
who's the fast talking Mink.
Yes.
And they also kind of like imply the idea of the amigo, like which back in the 20s or 30s, like
Amigo.
homosexuality is very taboo then. So I don't think they don't tackle that much in many noir films or any prohibition films. They're placed in prohibition films, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's also, I forget the character's name, but the guy that screams at the end.
Screams at the
when they're dealing with the Dane.
The boxer.
Yeah.
Oh, not the boxer guy. The guy who's placing the bet.
Yeah. Like he was just screaming for no reason. Like that's Coen Brothers.
But it has a reason.
Yeah.
And you can pick that up as the scene goes on. You're like, oh, he's doing that to signal about the Dane.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. But yeah, when they do with the violence, it's so hyper violent.
Yeah, and
my favorite one is like I was talking about the Sam Raimi character. They're doing the shootout, and all of a sudden, one of the cop pulls out a giant Gatling gun.
Well, it's not quite a Gatling gun, but yeah,
it's a little too much for this little small bar that they're shooting out of.
Well, at all of those extreme scenes,
especially Leo being ambushed.
Yeah, all the shootouts, it's comedic, but it's like it's so over the top.
Yes.
Like so he picks up a Tommy gun that's already been fired at him.
Yeah.
And it has a drum magazine, so it should have more bullets.
Yeah.
But he shoots easily 100 bullets or more after picking it up.
After picking it up, and then he jumps out the window.
Yeah.
That his house is on fire, and he shoots from like 2 stories below, and he's attacking this guy. This guy has like 150 bullet wounds, and it's destroying the chandelier. And then a car's shooting at him.
Yeah.
And he starts shooting at the car.
And it goes on for a long period of time. So it's way over the top. It's not realistic. But it serves the scene.
And then we cut to a scene where like there's like 100 goons in the hallway that Tom's walking through. It's like very over the top, but it's funny, but it's not like wink wink haha like see what we're doing. It's more of
they're still playing it relatively straight.
It works for the tone. Like I said, this may be one of my favorite Coen Brothers films. Like it has that absurdness of The Big Lebowski a little bit, and Fargo, and it has that Coen Brother absurdism that still is based in reality. It's not too much.
Yeah, this
Oh Brother We're Out There is like that's kind of where the absurdism gets a little fantasy, but that's part of the movie, I guess. But like this is like
this airs more on the side of No Country for Old Men than like some of these other
But at least
films.
this film has an ending.
It does have an ending.
Unlike No Country for Old Men. We just have Tommy Lee Jones just talking for like
and
5
there's
minutes.
a lot of really beautiful scenes and a lot of shots, especially in the woods.
Yeah.
And
and also there's one other funny thing when Tom like leaves like his apartment, all of a sudden the bookie just shows up and beats him up.
Oh,
I'll just take my beatings. Also, when Leo's beating up on Tom, and it's just comically like he's going through all the hallways, and he ends up in like
he ends up in
the ballroom, and he lands on that one woman. The woman's like, "Oh!" It's so like they could have just stopped.
Yeah,
but they kept going.
Yeah, it's
fun.
It's weird, but it works.
Yeah,
it's just a nice touch of absurdity.
Yeah. So, Joe, would you recommend Miller's Crossing to the general audience?
I would. I think it's a great film, and I think it's such a good sign of, like, you see the Coen brothers building this world, shooting the scenes and lighting it really well, and then you have the performances from the actors that are just over the top. It's a whole who's who of incredible actors, especially the character actors.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I've seen that guy in all of these movies. I've seen this guy in all of these movies. I've seen this guy in all of these movies. And they just all it's all so cohesive, and it takes you on this story that does wind and gives you all these kind of weird twists and turns and like how things shake out. And it's a very intriguing watch. It can be hard to follow, I think, for some people, but when you go back and you really paid attention and you think back to all the events and what was said and how those things kind of fell into place, you're like, this all makes internal logic.
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with Tom and you're following him as your protagonist, and you're like, yep, that can lead to this, and he's and like that's where that last scene we're talking about where Leo says, oh, you had this planned all along.
Yeah.
It becomes a viable option even after all of the insanity that happened. You're
There's
like, you know what, this kind of could happen.
There's a scene, I'm not gonna say what happens, but he says the words, "What heart?" That's where like you can think he had this in his plan already, played this whole act and all that. But there's also like he may have just like found the opportunity and took it. I'd also recommend this film to the general audience. I think it's really, really good. I would definitely own it in my own physical media, the collection. I would definitely own it. I'll buy the Criterion when it's on sale.
Yeah.
I just really like this a lot,
it's really good.
It's definitely up there as top 5 Coen Brothers film for me.
And here's
I like it more than Blood Simple, I think.
Here's what's great though. This film, when I got finished watching it, and I sat and I thought about it for a couple seconds, it reminds me of one of my favorite films that I've seen in my history of film class. One of the great films that has been made and nobody really talks about. And it's one that, like, if you make a Criterion profile, it's like, hey, what movie would you want in the Criterion collection if you could pick anything?
Mafia.
The Conformist. By Bernardo Bertolucci.
I've never seen that.
That is an incredible movie. Very similar. You're following a protagonist very similar to Tom.
Okay.
It's great.
I'm going to check out The Conformist, and you should too. Yes.
And if you haven't seen The Conformist, if you have, confirm and talk about how awesome it is in the comments.
The Conformist.
Yes, Conformist. But the visuals in that film are incredibly striking. A little bit more striking than they are here, but this one is so understated and it works for the film.
So. I'm going to check that out, and you should too. What's other films that you think should be in the Criterion collection? Not the connection, the collection. But you can also suggest movies that we could do for the Criterion connection.
Yep.
We're almost near the end of the year, 2024. We could be doing the movie you want to do. We could be. There's a lot of exciting things coming out. Also, they already announced a lot of things. Like, I can't even listen. There's so many. But until then, like, subscribe, share the video, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your Irish mob boss or your Italian mob boss or
your favorite bookie,
your boxer that you're gonna tell to throw the match.
Tell Dane.
Also the game, yeah.
Tell the Dane.
So just do all that. Yeah. Follow us on Instagram at Condish Productions. That's about it for us. So until next time, I'm Wade.
And I'm still Joe.
And we will see you later.